This week is something fun and interesting for all sports fans out there, especially you parents with kids that are athletic and in multi-sports. I'm really excited to have Sara Slattery, who's going to share her expert insight on raising confident, resilient athletes in today's high-pressure sports world, because it really does start, I feel like, at kindergarten sometimes. But, you know, it's a lot. Youth sports, parenting, how to support our young athletes without burning them out. And as a parent, I don't want to burn myself out either. Let's be real. So let's talk about that. But first, we always check in with our favorite Jeremy Mueller, our favorite State Farm agent here in town. So living in Scottsdale means knowing the value of community, and that's exactly what you get with Jeremy Mueller Insurance. Giving back to the community is a top priority for Jeremy and his team. He's been here for over 25 years helping neighbors just like you. With home, auto, life, and business coverage, he knows our city, lifestyle, and our needs. Plus, with 3 local offices, he is always close by. Give him a call at 480-515-5223 or visit him at jeremymueller.com, because here we look out for one another. Let's talk to our parents in our community. We all can relate to youth sports. It's become very competitive more than ever, and navigating that world from schedules, training, burnout to college recruiting, even the NIL opportunities can really feel overwhelming for both kids and parents. So joining me today is Sara Slattery, an incredibly accomplished athlete and coach with a wealth of experience really on every side of the sport. She's a 10-time Arizona State champion, 2-time NCAA champion, and former professional distance runner. And she's also one of the few women who have led both men and women's Division I cross country and track programs as a head coach at GCU here in town. She's a published author, co-writing How She Did It with Olympian Molly Huddle, a powerful collection of stories and advice from the elite female runners, and is currently working on our next book focused on pregnancy and running. Believe it or not, we have nothing in common, but we're going to learn something together. She continues to really mentor the young athletes, including her own kids and her middle school coach, and through her Nike Camp Elevate here in Prescott. She helped runners from across Arizona beyond develop not just performance, confidence, balance, and a lifelong love of sports. So you are a parent of 2. You've done just a little bit in life, I can tell. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. But I'm really excited because sports is everywhere. I am a huge fan of sports, do not play them, never have. My child is 8 and she's really getting into it. So I'm so excited to learn about how sports has shifted since you and I have grown up. What do we have, like 5 things to choose from, I feel like, and you dedicated it to then. So for parents that are really navigating sports and stuff today, I want to know from you, what does a healthy and positive sports experience really look like?
I think giving kids the opportunity to try a lot of things is great. Sports teaches you lessons that you can't quite, that you'll learn without having to, like, you can't quite get in the classroom or other experiences. It teaches you how to fail, how to get back up, work hard at something, set a high goal, maybe fail and not achieve it, but still keep going and trying to set those small goals along the way.
Yeah. And
you will usually get further than when you didn't try at all. And so you're also learning how to work with other teammates. There's individual sports where you're learning the pressure of like putting yourself out there and not being afraid to try something in front of everyone else. So I think like letting them try things, figuring out what they're good at, and what they enjoy doing is really, really important. Like we were talking about, growing up, we had a ton of rec sports. We had a ton of like different opportunities. I grew up in the 80s, so some of my experiences were co-ed sport. A lot of them were co-ed sports. Yeah. So I was playing with boys and girls, which can be a little intimidating, but when you're before puberty, you're pretty much all the same size and ability level. So my parents put me in a ton of things. They were seasonal. So like you played you played for 6 weeks. You got to try something else. So we did t-ball, softball, soccer. And I grew up in Arizona, so I swam. I did the rec swim teams every summer, and I found out I was really good at swimming. So that was something I wanted to pursue more. So I did that every summer until about age 10, and then I started to do club swimming. But I also I played school sports. So I ran track and ran cross country.
Yeah.
So my parents, and I did gymnastics and dance when I was little too. So you're trying
you
little
did like
things.
Every sport the 80s and 90s offered, because I feel like there was nothing else.
Well, I think my parents, my mom was in the era where there weren't women's opportunities for
That's
sports.
true.
So she went to a Catholic all-girls school where they just started to get sports, and my mom they had basketball
cheerleading.
and cheerleading. So she did basketball, cheerleading, and tennis.
Yeah.
And they had to make their own uniforms, and then they had to rent them back from the school. She tells that story all the time. But
I love it.
so her experience was a lot different. There just wasn't opportunities. So, and she had 2 girls. She wanted us to be able to try things.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was no pressure, especially with school sports. It was just figuring those things out. And then I started to figure out what I was good at end of middle school to high school, and then started pursuing those a little harder than the other sports.
Well, let's kind of shift into that. 2 things. I have one kid who's no athletic ability in the sense he doesn't enjoy it. He's not great at it. And I say that because I'm not either, but my daughter loves it. But the individual sports, right? He loves hiking. So the lessons, I love that you're there's so many lessons to learn. It's not about winning. It's about the lessons learned working with the team, individual, setting the goals and stuff for you. And I see that on both sides of the spectrum when it comes to sports. So talk about the joy of sports. How do we keep the joy of sports alive in our kids and ourselves as we drive them everywhere?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm coaching middle school right now, and I've coached all the way to the college level, and I was a professional athlete. And I think keeping it fun needs to be the core of core of everything. And I'm a very competitive person. I
couldn't tell.
But when you lose that, you lose the drive to want to do something. And so when we make it bigger than what it is, sometimes with kids, it creates more pressures, and pressure can be good, but if you were wanting it more than your child is wanting to do something, then we're down the wrong path.
Yeah.
So I think you need to find ways okay, why are we doing this? Is this something you want to be doing?
Yeah.
What are you interested in? For my daughter early on, a lot of it was finding, having friends and having the right people around and making it fun at practice. They play a lot of games early on, and they keep it so it wants them to come back to practice. And so that has been a driver for us with her. My son is a lot more driven, almost super competitive, already. And so sports was a way to shine. He wants to if he's not getting playing time, he's upset. So it was all right, well, if you want playing time, then you have to do these things and be a team player. Yeah. And sometimes your role is this. So you will get your opportunity, but do your job the best you can. And
that's
coach
2 different
will see
extremes,
that.
right? There's not enough for him, and then your daughter's I'll do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and now it's starting to turn with her a little bit more. But
how do you almost calm your son and those kids down a little bit in the sense of you don't want them injuring from doing too much, right? Yes, this is your passion, and yes, but like you were saying, you still have to be a team player. Maybe this isn't you because we need the other guy or gal to get a little bit more time so she or he can be. How do you coach that?
I think knowing your kid, I think also when you're seeing them, and my husband and I have been we were both professional athletes, and so we understand it gets harder as you get further along in the sport, where you can feel
the pressure.
Yeah, the pressure, and you can feel where it's harder to get through those practices and things like that. And we don't we're trying to hold them back. We're trying to find teams that also emphasize the values that we want. And so he does play on a club he plays tackle football, but the coach doesn't allow them to play year round. They only play in the fall, and he encourages them to play other sports in the off season. So baseball or basketball or run track or do other things. So when it comes around again to August, he's really excited to be on the team, and he wants to put all that time into football again.
You brought up a great point. Pick the team that works for you. I think that's so incredible. The coaching that now sometimes you don't get choices, right? My daughter's moving up to club soccer, and that's what we've been doing is finding the coaching and the development that works for us and our family in that sense. Talk about the importance of that when you're looking to move up or to really dedicate yourself to a sport?
Yeah, and I think a lot of there's a lot of great clubs that do encourage kids to be multi-sport athletes or do other activities, and but some of these clubs, it is a money maker for a lot of people, so they do want to do it year round. And if you're on a team sport and there's a limited number of kids and you have to miss, there's pressure a lot of times, like if you're not there at the game or you have to miss for something else. And so I think having good communication with them on what your goals are and where you are. We've decided, like with my daughter on soccer, we're trying to find that balance. We've always communicated with the club and the coaches that she swims. She also swims, and she does she does some things through the school. We prioritize soccer a lot, but sometimes she's going to have to miss for these other things. And right now she practices 3 days a week, and so she rarely misses those practices. Sometimes she does. Sometimes we're going to have to miss a game. So they've been really good about it. But that communication, I think, is important. Or if they're not okay with that, then maybe you have to find another team. And that meet the goals that you have. I wish, honestly, there was a club system that rotated sports. So you were getting, I think the reason.
You join the club and it would rotate sports?
Yeah. So I think now, in our era, it was a lot of rec sports. Yeah. And there were a few club opportunities when there were really good kids. They pushed them into those things. I think now the rec sports are becoming more and more obsolete. In school sports, kids, I still think school sports are very, very important. But so much of it, parents feel that you need to go to club because they're going to get better coaching. And a lot of times they are getting better coaching, and they're not going to, they feel like they might not get it through the rec teams. But I still think we're not getting a lot of, it's hard for parents to be in a club system. It's a lot of time and money to put towards that, and they feel the pressure, and it's hard to do anything else besides that.
When do you think is a good time? And I know this is all circumstantial based per kid and all that kind of stuff, to really ask your kid, let's start focusing on one. Do you when developmental wise as an athlete as a whole, would you say to do that, or do we not, and just let the kids tell us and do everything that we as a parent want to drive them around to, right?
Well, the book that I wrote with Molly Huddle is, the research is on running, but we had a sports physiologist, a sports medicine doctor, Dr. Adam 1040 out of Boston. He had done a 10-year study on the athletes that were making it to the Olympic and world championship level. And 90% of those athletes that made it to that level were multi-sport athletes up to high school.
Up to high school?
Yeah.
So
they started to go specialize around high school or mid-high school.
So that's interesting, because most parents, even the ones I talk to, are that's elementary, middle school, they're trying to focus up.
And I think there's a lot more information now. Even David Epstein's book, The Sports Gene, looks at this, and Range look at this as well. And he followed hundreds of professional athletes and found that around 80 to 90% of those athletes didn't specialize before high school. And the only exceptions were really figure skating. It was figure skating, diving, and I think one other sport that there was more specialization.
Yeah, interesting. Let's talk about, you kind of brought this up. One of the lessons you said that we really learn is failure, but taking that chance, right? It's all about taking that chance. Talk about what it means to truly fail to learn, right? Fail to work as a team and taking those chances. I know as an adult, that failure word will hold me back, right, from opportunities and stuff. As a coach and as an athlete, how do you get through to these kids?
Yeah, I think breaking those walls down is a big thing. I'm coaching middle school kids, so that's a very transitional time for life. for life. Yeah, for a lot of kids. So they don't want to look they don't want to fail in front of their peers or look like they can't do something. So my first practice, like we had our first track practice yesterday, and we're going over drills and we're teaching them new movements.
Yeah.
And it's awkward. Like a lot of them haven't done it before, and some of them will be hesitant or they'll like rush through it and run away. So like they can't see it in front of all their peers. But I break it down right away, and I'm like, look, this is our starting point. This isn't where we're gonna finish by the end of the season. You may look silly right now, or you may not be running as fast as you want to be right now, but that's the beginning. And I want to see where you're gonna be in 6 weeks from now. So we got to start somewhere, and we can't be afraid. And like taking the first step is important. And every single person at the Olympics has failed multiple times to get there.
Yeah.
And it's important. Failure is important. That's how you learn. That's how you learn to get better. That's how you like learn from your mistakes. That's how you like test things out. I don't want anyone to be afraid to take a step here. Yeah. So it's just getting them to feel comfortable, getting them to feel like they don't have like, you know, like, and I feel like the middle school sports are really important for kids because a lot of them are trying new things. And they're like, it needs to be a no pressure situation for a lot of them. And like, that's the problem with like a lot of the club things is sometimes that feels like more pressure than it like.
Well, let's talk about how pressure leads to injuries, burnout, and ultimately some kids just quit over that. How do we as parents really work within that to prevent the burnout and injuries with our kids?
I think giving them opportunities to do multiple things, so it's not just one, like you're not putting so much pressure on one thing. Mm-hmm. So they don't feel one dimensional. I think at 10 years old, it's very hard to have one thing define you as a person because you haven't even fully developed that.
Not even close, right?
Yeah, your brain, your body, your mind. And so allowing them to try a lot of things and not, as a parent, creating that identity in what they're doing right now.
Yeah. How do you talk to a kid and tell them to slow down, take a break? Maybe we don't need to practice 6 hours today because you did 4 hours yesterday, right? Like, what is a good amount? Again, I know this is all circumstantial per kid and that can kind of, or per athlete. What's a good amount to kind of train for these kids a week?
Yeah, I think, I don't know the exact number so I think for each sport it can be different.
Absolutely. Yeah, and each kid is different too. Yeah.
Even for running, like their bone, like I don't recommend like distance running for a lot of kids, like a lot of mileage. Yeah. More than, you know, like we start with like 5 to 10 miles a week, really. Yeah. And
but that's what I'm talking about. So like I was talking to this guy.
But we're doing form and we're doing intensity and we're slowly increasing the intensity and duration over time. And so that their body can handle it. But they're going through puberty and their bones are developing. A lot of them have heel and knee pain. So you're trying to do multiple plane movements also. Like that's why it's not good to play just one sport, like a soccer, body, right? A soccer or basketball or something all year round. We're seeing younger and younger athletes getting
injuries, like
major
severe
injuries at like middle school, high school age, where we weren't seeing that until like college in the past. So it's important that they're moving in multiple directions. They're not just same muscles over and over again. And that's where, like with soccer, a lot of the girls, like I know several of Callie's teammates, their sisters are at middle school and are having knee injuries already or quad issues. And because it's such a quad dominant sport, they really need to be working that posterior chain. So like your glutes, your hamstrings, your adductors. Yeah. So they're stabilizing that quad and that knee. And if you're not doing that, and when you're growing, it's going to cause more issues.
I was talking to a physical therapist at Mayo Clinic, and he focuses on athletes. And he was kind of telling me the same thing. He's like, so many injuries happen in adolescence age because they're still developing and over practicing some. And he's like, and I learned girls like during their menstrual week and stuff like that, he's like, that's when we'll see the most ACL and MCL tears is because they're already weak with what's going on in our hormones. And then, like you said, we're just doing that one sport, the same muscle movement. And he too was like, they don't concentrate on their quads enough, for that core stability as well.
Yeah, I think they do too much a quad for
some of that,
for soccer in general, but some of the other ones, like they're not doing enough. Yeah. But with the menstrual cycles too, girls have a different element of that. Where
and I was fascinated because he was like, we're seeing more ACL, MCL tears. We're seeing more knee surgeries and the 13 to 16-year-old age frame than we were, in our time, in our growing up age because of that kind of stuff.
Kids are more serious in their sports now. So like kids are playing more intensely younger. And
do you think that's just the way the sports is moving? So we're like naturally doing that with our kids?
I think there's a lot of factors that play into it. I think parents, with college scholarships and seeing that as an opportunity for them to like help their kid get into the school that they want to or pay for school is a motivating factor for some parents. I think, and I now there's NIL, there's all
this is like my next question,
money,
like shifting into recruiting, like talk about recruiting and that shift because it's a lot and that puts more unnecessary pressure on the kids too to be the best of the best since you can go anywhere and everything almost.
Yeah, I think, I coached in college for 8 years and most of the high level coaches want athletes that are like that the athletes that come in that are multi-sport athletes are going to be kids that have higher ceilings because they're going to be they haven't specialized so much into this sport right now and probably will stay injury free and be able to like improve a lot more than the athlete that has.
Yeah.
However, like now there's the transfer portal. So a lot of younger, especially on boys' sides, it's so much more competitive when these college coaches aren't able to develop kids the same way through college. So they can't take a freshman that might still be growing and has run or like, I don't know, is playing really well now, but hasn't hit his peak in growth development. And could be really good later on down the line. They might not be able to risk that as much because there's money on the line, there's their jobs on the line, those things, there's more pressure. So it's with running, like kids are having to hit time a lot faster times now as seniors in high school than they were 10 years ago.
Which is just nuts. I didn't even think about that when you go into a program for college. It's hard to be developed in that program unless you're going to commit, like you're just rotating out so quickly for the next best thing.
Yeah, so I think I feel there might be a big shift with athletes that really want to be developed going to smaller schools like where JUCO. Or JUCO, D2, D3, where they can develop kids and maybe move on to a bigger program later on.
There are some great JUCO schools out there that just are known for that.
It makes me sad because the development part was my favorite part of coaching. So taking someone and seeing their progression over 5 years. And now
when you talked about that, when you're like, you may not run and you don't like this, but we're going to see how far you can run by the end of the season.
And that's the most fun thing in coaching is to see that person change over time and really become a different athlete.
What's a really big, I want two things. What's a big piece of advice for parents and what's a big piece of advice that you give to athletes?
So parents, I think don't push too hard too early. Yeah. So give them a good mix of different activities, whether it's sports, music,
well-rounded,
different like team sports, individual sports, water sports, things that they can see and learn from, and find out what they're good at. And don't try not to specialize them too early on in their development and always make it fun. Okay. I think those are the big three things we try to do as a family in our house.
I love that. And for athletes, what's your biggest piece of advice?
Yeah, it needs to be like work really hard at what you do. Listen to your coaches. I think
Be coachable.
Yeah, be coachable. That's what we tell our kids. Like, I'm coaching my son at the middle school, but I actually like he played flag football and cross country in the same season, so he didn't even he wouldn't be at practice with me. He practiced with another coach at track club. But I want my kids to whatever the coach says, be ask them what you need to do to be better.
That's a
pay
life
attention.
lesson, right?
Yeah, pay attention to what he's asking of you. Be a good teammate. Have a good attitude. Showing up to practice every day, it's not going to be fun every day, but showing up with a good attitude, working hard, those are really good things that you can take and be successful in anything you do.
Yeah. What's one thing that you think we get wrong when it comes to athletes, and as a parent and as an athlete, pushing ourselves too much?
Living through our kids.
Oh yeah.
It's hard. My husband and I have
do you
to
do
stop
that?
ourselves
Okay,
through that because our kids are starting to track.
Yeah.
And we were both track athletes, so we get super excited about that. But we also know that's not the path to if they really want to, if that's something they want to do, they still need to be doing what they like doing first and figuring it out on their own. Yeah. So it can't be driven by us. It has to be driven by them.
I want to really quick, it just dawned on me, there was a big thing that went viral about the Maryland basketball coach. Did you was yelling at one of her her players and stuff like that, in her face. And it went viral, and there was this whole media thing, and the player came on. She's like, no, I asked my coach to do that. I like to be coached hard. And when you read the lips, the coach was like, you're the best thing out there. Now start, it was motivational, but it did not look that way on TV, right? And the player was like, no, I spoke to my coach, and I chose this program because the coach said that she would get onto me and she would coach me hard. But she's like, I have a teammate that doesn't like that. So
she doesn't do the same thing.
Exactly. So it's really interesting because you look at this coach, you're like, oh my God, she needs to be fired. And she's telling the girl how great she is and what an awesome player. But that girl wanted to be hard coached, right?
Yeah.
And so learning that.
I think each kid can be different in how, what triggers that, what motivates them and what gets them fired up to perform.
Right.
My son plays for the Central Phoenix Colts, and they have probably half their staff is former NFL players. Right. Drew Stanton's the head coach there, but Drew will get on the kids. Yeah. But he's holding them accountable for those things. He also cares about each of those kids and is looking at the development of those kids and trying to help them. Yeah. Some kids don't react well to that, so he doesn't do the same thing for everyone.
I was really more proud of the player for speaking up and be like, no, this is what I like. So, when you were just saying the kids need to understand what works for them and speak up and be coachable and understand their strengths and weaknesses, for her to come to the coach and be like, this is how I work, get in my face, I'll respond well. I think as an athlete, goes to show how connected she was with her ability and her effort and stuff like that, kind of thing.
Yeah. And you have a spectrum of kids.
Of course.
Where
I'm sure your two kids are very different too.
Yeah.
Right?
Some kids just you just give them a couple cues. They're good. They can do everything. And then other kids, my husband was fiery and he wanted to hear those things too. So it's
fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I thank you for all you do and for continuing to educate us. And I think it's incredibly important that we take care of our kids and our own mental health. I'm not driving my kids to 5 different sports activities a day.
Yeah.
So really care, connect, and just listen to your kids. I think we could all learn something from them and follow their lead. And again, parents, you're not going to be the athlete that your kid was, and you can't live through them. Your days are gone. Or you could play pickleball with me, and we all can still injure ourselves, I feel like. Sarah, it's my favorite question I ask everyone. So before we leave, what is your favorite Scottsdale vibe?
Ooh, I love Scottsdale Springs. Our spring right now is a little warm. It is. A little yellow, too. But I love the energy here we have all the activities. I guess it starts in the winter with Barrett Jackson, and we have spring training. The weather is amazing. I'm a big outdoor person, so I love hiking and running on the trails. And so I just love all the energy in Phoenix at this time of year.
Well, listen, where can our listener reach out to you for more information or anything like that as well?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Sara Slattery. I have a Nike running camp called Camp Elevate that is a middle school, high school running camp.
I love that.
And it's big on understanding like the key things to be a great athlete long term. And then those are like the two main ones that I have right now.
We'll have that in the description of this episode as well as everything else. But we love our community and everything that goes on, including our favorite Shawn Shackelton real estate agent. So if you are looking to get into Scottsdale sports and come and hang out and even maybe work with Sara over here, be sure to call Shawn to find your favorite housing here. As for over 25 years, Scottsdale real estate agent Shawn Shackelton has guided buyers and sellers with straight talk, smart strategy, and data that keeps you ahead of the market. If you want a calm pro who won't let you settle for less, reach out to Shawn at 480-734-7277 or visit theshackletongroup.com. Thank you, Sara, for everything and continuing to take care of us and our children. Be sure to check her out. We'll have the description and the links to all of her information in the description of this episode and on our YouTube channel. But in the meantime, have a wonderful week, Scottsdale. Keep vibing, and I'll see you around town.